Well, that footage you just seen was absolutely beautiful, but sadly it wasn't from this morning. It was actually the same time last week. Now the problem is I arrived in the forest, a lot of tweety birds, walked around for about half an hour, found myself this composition and the camera malfunctioned. It sounded like the aperture, yes, the aperture blades were shutting down, but the shutter itself wasn't firing. Changed the batteries, changed the lens, tried all sorts and went home. So give it a clean up, all seems fine now, so quite strange really, but it's one of those things. I have got a spare body for the Bronica with me just in case in the car, something I should carry. Anyway, back to the shoot. Now I envisage this scene that you can see in front of you here as light and airy. I don't see it as harsh and contrasty. I want it to be fairly open. I want plenty of detail in the shadows, keeping the sky out of the shot, very important that. I don't want the sky in the shot. A couple of bright areas, but they're contained within the tree canopy. So standard lens, f/22, focused about a third of the way into the scene, not bothered about the real background, that can fade out a little bit if it does. Yellow filter, XP2 Super today, which I'll talk more about in a future video, but the reason is there are bright spots coming through, and I am looking to do maybe 2 or 3 different scenes today, so I need that highlight control. Now I'm tempted to move on. I don't know though. I think I might just hang around for maybe 20 minutes, half an hour. It's a bit nippy, but I think it's a worthwhile scene to get some light coming onto it potentially. A little bit more light than there is now. Not too much, it'll go too harsh. But I'm set up. I did try it last week and it's been playing on my mind ever since. It's quite a nice composition, so I think I'll hang around. Whilst hanging round though, I think it's probably worth me doing a bit of a recce into this little area around here. Do no harm while the camera is set up over there behind me, hopefully you can see it, to have a little scout around. I'm only going to stay in this area. The beauty of working in a very local landscape is I can come back anytime I like, so I don't have to try and cram it all in as if I was on a big day or a big week's photo shoot. I can take my time and I can find those lovely little compositions that nobody else ever sees, hopefully. Another reason it's worth hanging around is those first couple of frames I took have vegetation very close to the frame, and there's a little bit of a gust blowing, and with sort of 30-second exposure they may be a bit intrusive. Sometimes I don't mind really, to be honest, a little bit of movement. It shows I don't know, a bit more dynamic within the image, but it'd be nice to get one that was still, I think. Now I have made a very, just excuse me out of focus, a very small change to the composition. I've moved back, well, about a foot or so, and that is just to allow me to tilt the camera up slightly. I've got the tree trunks in the foreground and they're absolutely essential that they're all there, and I've got a bit of light below them where the water is reflecting, but I wanted a little bit more, I don't know how to explain it really, a bit more space before them, and it allowed me to tilt my camera back slightly, tilt it up, sorry, and get a little bit more of the midground. You'll probably see it when I show the images. Fingers crossed it won't be like the last trip here and be a worse composition. Fingers crossed. Right, the light is coming up into the scene now and catching the major tree trunk and some of the background, so I think I'll probably take a couple of frames now and then move on. Well, after walking round for about an hour, I decided to come back. I got a bit disheartened, too much light everywhere else, and I'm surprised that the scene actually is still quite shaded, although it's gone up by a couple of stops in speed. So I can shoot now at 2 seconds, and there is no movement on the little twiglets. So yeah, at least I'm going to have a roll full of options on the same composition. Now I have got a possible second shot about 20 feet from where I've stood before. There is light coming into the frame which I'm going to need to exclude, so I have to go for a slightly tighter crop with my 1.4 times converter on the 80mm. I am going to go in to the point where I think I've got enough depth of field to hold the key elements, which is the tree trunks which were in the foreground before, which are at a different angle now, and some other trees moving out the frame with some nice foliage, but I have got to be careful of that backlighting, it's a bit bright. Well, for the last couple of frames I've decided to adjust the composition slightly with the 150mm, cropping in a little bit closer. I have the trees now with the light well out the frame. I've going for 2 seconds and 4 seconds, plenty of exposure. It's possibly a little bit tight, the crop. But it is the last 2 frames, and I do want to get something a little bit different to compare to the earlier ones. So yeah, just take this and then we're done. And that's it. We'll get these back and get them developed.